Welcome to Midsummer Scream. Halloween fans are excited and curious to learn more about Spirit Halloween, the movie. And we have just the group to talk about it. Please welcome to the stage from the Boo Crew podcast, Lauren and Trevor Shand, and Leo D'Antonio.
Halloween is upon us. How you guys doing? I am Leo.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Trevor, and we are Bloody Disgusting's Boo Crew. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. It's awesome. So we're here to, I guess, have a discussion and a sneak peek of the brand new film, Spirit Halloween, coming out this October. They're wrapping up post-production right now, and you guys are going to get an exclusive sneak peek at this. So it comes courtesy of Strike Back Studios, Hideout Pictures in particular crowd, and today, you're going to be the first. This is unreleased footage, and we'd like to welcome part of the incredible team behind this spooky family adventure. So first of all, after years of service in the Royal Australian Air Force, she became an award-winning screenwriter who was a fellowship recipient for NYWIFT's The Writers Lab in 2018, supported by Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman, also winning the family category at Nashville Film Festival. Spirit Halloween is her debut feature-length. Please welcome Billie Bates. Next up, we have an immensely talented cinematographer who's worked on scores of acclaimed short films, videos, documentary, and scripted projects for the music world's biggest stars, and he's also partnered with Disney. He's helped bring to life our favorite TV shows, including the 4-time Emmy-winning Shark Tank and the 86-time Emmy-winning Saturday Night Live. Say hi to Andy Kugler. And finally, the president of Strike Back Studios. This guy is a visionary producer who's been a part of films and franchises that have really changed pop culture. Freddy vs. Jason, Twilight, 2018's revisit of Suspiria, and the monumental films of Mike Flanagan, including Before I Wake, Gerald's Game, and Oculus. He is Noor, Ahmed. So feel free to tell everybody about your experience today on your social media, and you can tag Spirit Halloween Movie, Midsummer Scream, and Tales from the Boo Crew, because this is an independent movie and a real labor of love. And as you know, it's important to show our support for all things in the genre space so that it is a space that continues to be filled with incredible content and creators. So we want to begin where it all began, inside the mind of the wonderful Billie Bates. So Billie, just tell us a little bit about your background, first of all, and discovery of just your love of screenwriting.
Yeah, hi. Well, I discovered screenwriting by accident when I'd been writing some women's fiction novels in my 20s after I'd been a corporate flight attendant. So I just thought, this is a crazy world to write about. And then with some feedback, people had said, you need to turn this into a script. And I'm like, oh, there's people that actually write films. You just think they just appear when you're not in the industry. And that just began like a 12-year journey of just, it was my calling, the way, I'm not a beautiful writer, but I understand structure and character arcs in a way that's just more mathematical, that screenwriting just spoke to me in my mind and how it works. And that's where it was at. And I mean, Spirit Halloween, the movie, was written 5 years ago when I was living in the Midwest. And I was obsessed with Halloween, Halloween wasn't big in Australia, so everything I knew about Halloween was the movies, and it was just like this other world to me. And so the true passion and excitement for Halloween was what just drove. And then when I had kids, and their passion for it, it just kind of evolved out of that.
So Spirit Halloween, it's important to note, is not a documentary about the Spirit Halloween store. And although we love them, it's also not something that, as Billie said, it wasn't commissioned as a marketing piece or anything like that. So this is all your original idea independently. So talk about kind of the origins of the entire script. Did it take place in a Spirit Halloween in the origin stage?
Well, it did actually, and I think the spark of an idea came. I'd been writing mostly female-driven kind of raunchy comedies, and my kids were like, when will you write something for us? And I'd also had some line budgets done on some of these scripts, and this real understanding that, to truly get something in a decent enough budget, it needs to be high concept but low budget. And I'm like, well, how would I ever come up with an idea like that? And I just look over from the lights in the store we just left, which was Spirit Halloween, which I'd go twice a week. I would go twice a week with my kids, just for the fun of it. They were much bigger 10 years ago, but you can still find the good ones, the big ones. And it just came to me pretty much fully formed as an external story. But then this idea of, I have 2 boys under the age of 13, and this idea of just getting back to when movies cared about the characters. It wasn't just, you get a cool hook, and the kids don't have attention spans, so get through it quick. And I was like, no, I want to tell a story about characters that, the idea that growing up can be just as scary as the animatronics that might be coming to life in the story, and letting go of your childhood friendships, could be truly scary. So just really embracing that. People always compare it, Noor compares it to like movies from the Amblin era of entertainment, and it's not homage in a way like particular movies, but it is that feeling of just simplicity and back to the characters, I think, that kind of drove it for me.
Billie, was there ever a temptation to look at the script and say, hey, you know what we could really use is a lot of blood and gore and arms being ripped off and creatures and monsters and blood everywhere?
That's probably not my vibe. Once I became a mum, it was like, and I was writing for my kids, like, no way. But they're the ones that said to me earlier, oh, Mum, this feels like a Five Nights at Freddy's, or this feels like and I had a look what they were talking about. I'm like, no, that's way too much. Or what was it, Willy Wonka's? I can't remember. There was some Willy's Wonderland, I think. Yeah, it was never going to be a slasher. It was because to get into the character of it, it just didn't go hand in hand with the slasher genre. So,
what do you think is so special about going to a Spirit Halloween? What does it make you feel? I know I get a certain feeling anytime I walk into that store.
Yeah, well, for me, it was just like being that little girl growing up, where Hollywood and Halloween and America just felt like this magical place for me. And that was just an extension of that, because we'd never experienced it. Apparently it's more of a thing now. I've lived here 15 years now, but my sister tries to tell me it's a thing, but I think it was so unique and so magical, and it felt so far away, and I could step into that world. And the possibilities, it just gave me that feeling of spooky, but knowing you're safe. I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah. Well, that said, is there any films that you had kind of going on in your mind that are baked into the DNA of this thing?
No, I wouldn't say so, to be honest. Inspirations just from a concept perspective, it's like, for me, it would be like a comp of Goosebumps and Night at the Museum, but with a junior horror element.
Sure.
That was kind of maybe a comp. I don't know if I'd say baked into the DNA, but definitely just presents itself purely through the concept.
Yeah. And then Noor, you discovering the script, what was that like? And what about it made it special?
Well, I will say I was sent the script, I want to say, in June of 2021. I had been talking with Particular Crowd, who Billie had been working with for like 2 years up to that point. And we'd been going back and forth about wanting to do a project. Hideout Pictures, who I work with, we were in post-production on a Western drama, Old Henry. It was set to premiere at the Venice Film Festival in September, and we were trying to find our next project. And look, that's a heavy drama. We had done Ted K, which is a drama about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, that had been the Berlin Film Festival. So we definitely were looking for something lighter, and me and Particular Crowd were just not figuring out what we wanted to do. And I, in a joking but frustrated way, was like, well, what do you guys have? What do you want to do? You don't like anything I have. And they were like, well, they've got this script, Spirit Halloween, like, you should read it. And it was a super easy read, which is all I'm looking for in the entertainment world. Something that, within 5-10 minutes of reading a script, I either know if this is a good writer or not. And it just read well. And I breezed through it. I sent it to my colleagues in Nashville, and they were like, we all were like, we like this, like, let's do it. But there was no director, no financing, no nothing. And it's now like July, and we're talking about releasing a film, for the Halloween season in 2022. And maybe I didn't know any better, but I just was like, yeah, we should just do this. We'll shoot it by the end of the year. COVID's going on, things are getting shut down. And no one ever sort of challenged me. I guess that's the joy of being the president of the company, where I was like, we're gonna do this. And a Particular Crowd, they had said, afterwards, they didn't say it to me at the time, I think when we finished it and started showing them footage, they were like, yeah, we didn't have any idea if you could pull this off. And we were just kind of like 50-50 shot this works out at all. And they were even surprised that we pulled it off. I don't remember, Billie, how much we had you do polishes or rewrite on the script once we got it. I think I asked you to beef up some characters for casting purposes, but I don't think it was a ton of work you had to do. It was pretty much ready as I remember it.
Yeah, that's right. I think we're able to bring a little bit of backstory back that they'd had me take out initially just for budget reasons. We're able to bring that back, but in a simplified version, which I think actually benefited the script. But yeah, there was some location stuff that David Pogue, the director, had said, hey, this is what I've got access to, how can we work this in? But yeah, the script was as it was, I think, at that point.
Andy, when did you get a call about this script?
I think I got it maybe June or so.
Oh, okay, so you got it right, we all were, okay,
right
good.
at the same time.
So we didn't just like give you this and be like, you're shooting this, go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
So when it comes to Spirit Halloween finding out that this script and production is about to exist, when were they approached and what kind of creative role, if any, did you kind of want them to have in this whole process?
Well, Billie, you said it. You'd never talked to them. You were just writing it, and I don't think Particular Crowd ever talked to them. And we kind of were like, well, we could just change it to like the whatever Halloween megastore. And one of the other producers, my partner, Shannon Houshins, who's based in Nashville, he was like, we should try and reach out to them. And he kind of was like, I know someone that knows someone over there, something very vague like that. And we kind of got a meeting set up, and our big pitch was, and I think this was inherent in the script, where I went to them, I said, I'm not coming to you for like some brand sponsorship, partnership in this movie. Like, I'm not interested in that. What Strike Back and Hide Up Pictures is trying to do, we wanted from a creative standpoint, it to feel very like organic, that we weren't trying to do a marketing ploy, like they were a part of this story. And we sent them the script. They liked that this wasn't trying to be necessarily like, and spoiler alert, this isn't some horror, gory mess, but we were trying to be family friendly. We wanted to have a wide audience. And I said, look guys, like, this is gonna be great for us because it isn't a brand deal. Like, it'll feel very natural, like it's a very positive story. And once again, to their credit, like, they just got on board. I think they also were like, they said it to me as well, not too long ago. We weren't sure what we were signing up for. Like, we weren't sure, like, if this was real, like, you know, now it's all great. Now we're all best friends, we're Facebook friends, it's great. But at the time, I think everyone was like, are you guys serious? Like, you want to try and make this movie and it's sort of about a store, but it's not about a store. And that was the brilliant thing, I think, of the script, is that it's not about the store. Like, the store is there, it's the setting, obviously, and you'll see in the footage, like, it takes place there. But there's a real, genuine, organic story that I think Billie did a great job. And yeah, I don't know if it was your plan, but like, it worked out brilliantly. I think there's a lot of things with this film that just, from a timing standpoint, worked out brilliantly, and everyone's really excited. We had our big premiere at the Spirit Halloween Store grand opening yesterday. Nice. We had the 4 lead kids there. We showed them the footage we're about to show you, and everyone is just, you know, it's full steam ahead for the release on October 11th. So it's, you know, to do that, from when we shot it to getting it released, I mean, that is, I'm not a production guy, so I'm not on set. So Andy, I don't know how much work that was for you, but I thank you once again a lot. That was making it happen fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were greenlit and shooting 3 weeks later. Something
Oh, yeah.
to that effect, and 3 of those weeks were casting.
Yeah,
So,
a little bit. It was a race. It was a race. A lot of things had to happen quickly, guys. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
But the film's not done, correct?
The film, we are in post. I think Andy has to still go look at the color correction and sit and make sure everything is perfect. But it's done in the sense that, like I said, I wanted to show some footage. We started talking with the powers that be at Apple, Amazon, the streamers, everyone, because everyone just got behind a great story. And look, I think we have some amazing cast, but people just saw, this is a great idea. Why didn't someone do this? We're gonna go make a Target movie next year. Who knows?
So before we still got a couple more questions before we hit the big sizzle reel. But I wanted to talk just quickly about assembling the team and picking David Pogue to be the director director, and then Andy as cinematographer. So David, why was he chosen? Why was he the right guy for the job?
David was someone, so Hideout Pictures, they're based out of Nashville. Their parent company actually is a music label. And they had worked with David a lot on some music video stuff. He's done some commercials. And once you get to the credit of our partners at Particular Crowd, they're our main partner. Like I said, they had been developing the script. They were like, you guys should go produce it. I remember I had the conversation of like, well, how do you feel about a first-time feature director? And they were very open to it. They wanted to definitely talk to David and kind of get a sense of his reel. But in the same way, they were like, hey, Billie's a first-time feature writer. Like, they really much embraced, like, let's go find the best people. I presented some directors, for sure, that had a better, or at least, they'd done some feature films, but they never really got on me. They trusted our team, because we'd made a few films by then. Hey, we're signing up with you guys as a production company. If you feel this is best, like, we'll do it. Like I said, it was a joint co-finance, co-production deal, so we both had skin in the game also. And look, I think when it came, I was talking with Andy just backstage, like, you worked with the Hideout guys a long time ago on their first, I think, their first feature way back then. I wasn't around then, right?
Yeah, like 2010,
Yeah.
perhaps, yeah.
This was very much finding partners. Like, we were talking about the composer, Jordan. He'd worked on Old Henry. He's actually scoring Hideout's new film right now, Providence. That's a much bigger film. That's sort of a Coen Brothers comedy with like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Lily James, Jim Gaffigan, Tim Blake Nelson, and a huge cast. So it very much was like, we have a group of people, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Billie's the outsider in a way, but she was the one that started. We had a great script, and we're all like, let's do this. And so with David, like, there was another director we talked to, and everyone was just like, no, he's got it. Like, it was that, and David's like a real soft-spoken guy. I remember the first time I did a Zoom with him, my comment was, I was like, hey man, like, can we get him some Red Bull or something? Like, and we put him in front of the Particular Crowd people, and they're like, he's great, because he wasn't, I think in a way, trying to do the Hollywood thing of like, over-pitch. He was just like, yeah, this is what I do, he's very soft-spoken, very quiet guy, and I was like, great, good, let's sort of do it. And I was like, are you crazy enough to do it on this schedule? And the budget, and Billie was reminding me of this, the budget we increased because we wanted some things to feel bigger. I didn't want to make this as like a super low budget indie. I'm not saying we're a $20 million film, but I think there are a lot of indies that do a disservice when they're trying to do it for too little. Like I think, and Billie, you can tell me this, I think in the script when I got it from you, it was just like, we're at the store. And that was it. And I was like, well, we gotta kind of know what like these characters are. We found an amazing location, the cave, which I don't know if that was in the script or not, but
They definitely, well, I don't want to give away too much, but they definitely went below.
okay.
But we didn't have, I mean, it was me just trying to be creative. There's single location and there's like, okay, we've seen this, so we're just going to repeat it for the second half, And so I was trying to find creative ways, and then just everything has felt so serendipitous, because then locations were coming up. And I think in a very early draft, when I was living in the Midwest, we had this awesome, huge, historic village that would do this massive Halloween Fright Night thing for like a week leading up to Halloween. So it was set there, and then they had me completely take it out, but I think I was able to bring it back in a sense with the cinema, create that same vibe of building up to Halloween without being, straight away in the store. So
we shot the movie in Rome, Georgia, and we definitely tried to cater it. You probably never went to Rome. You didn't even know where we were shooting, or we showed you pictures. But our big concern when we were shooting it, I was like, is it gonna snow? Is it gonna not look like home? Because I think we were shooting from, when did you get done, Andy? When was the last day?
The last day was in January.
Right.
And we started...
before Thanksgiving.
We started right before Thanksgiving, so we made sure to shoot out all of our exterior, colorful fall leaves before they were gone.
It was a big worry. I was like, if this looks like it's winter, or kids not trick-or-treating, it would look weird. So, it was a lot trying to put the team together. And like I said, the main company's based out of Nashville. So a lot of people came because Rome, Georgia, from Nashville is not terribly far. But it was a lot of people that we worked, like the stunt coordinator we'd worked with on the previous film. He was on our new film. And look, I think that's a lot of, independent productions, you got to rely on sort of your team. People that have worked with us in the past, and we found that. But there were, like I said, a lot of great new people, which we'll talk about maybe after we see the promo, but like, we for sure were scaling up a little bit. You know, like, we'd all talked about wanting to make a nice, family-friendly sort of film like this, but we'd never done it. So even that, like I said, we'd come off of 2 sort of heavy dramas, and then the film afterward, we're doing sort of, like I said, a Coen Brothers art house comedy. So this was very much our partners, that particular crowd, and Billie, where we were just like, let's do it. Seems like a good idea. It didn't blow up in my face, so it's great.
And take us behind the curtain for a second here. Will we be seeing monsters and creatures in costumes and with characters, practical effects, or will it be visual effects, or a combination of both?
It's definitely a combination of both, in the sense that with the Spirit Halloween team, in a good way, like, they gave me like 20 different sort of quote monsters of animatronic characters, because in the story, it is, I'm trying to remember, what's his real name? Alec Windsor. His spirit inhabits all these different animatronic characters. So what you see is, at first you see the Spirit Halloween animatronic characters, which are just the animatronic characters. Then they sort of get possessed and turn into real things. We didn't have a ton of visual effects because I think we're trying to be a little old school. We wanted to do it all real, all practical. We thought that would have a better effect. And Andy, you can talk about that, the differences we were shooting on set.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the goal the entire time, that they're reacting to actual things that are in the room, that light's hitting actual things, and they're moving through the space, and it's just such a different aesthetic when it's actually happening in front of the camera. So that was the goal.
And it was a big deal because, look, I think Andy did with lighting and all that, and what David were trying to do. You know, you've got to make these things look scary. They can't just sort of look like animatronic characters. When they come to life, like, you know, I think we did some fun things with Nightcrawler. He's one of the characters. Look, even there's a character, Teddykins, that I think we did some fun stuff with. Look, is there some visual effects elements of maybe their lights or their eyes turn a certain color? For sure, but like, we wanted it to feel real. And like I said, we're not trying to make a horror film, and I'm no fan of like heavy visual effects where it just, and that was not even a particular crowd. They always would say, hey, less is more. Like, you know, we're not a huge budget, so don't try and do something that's gonna look silly, which was really important to us.
And then Andy, what would you say would be kind of the personality and the look and feel that you kind of envisioned for this film as cinematographer, the personality of the camera, so to speak? What did you kind of want to tell?
Sure. I mean, I think David and I, we just trade images back and forth. You know, we call it throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, if it doesn't, you know, it's good to sort of figure out what it isn't and whittle it down to what it is. So, like a big visual sort of inspiration for us was the 82 Poltergeist. You know, I think some of our finale, we kind of wear it on our sleeve in there, and you know, and also just kind of the ensemble movies of the 80s. The Amblin stuff, I think, is a good note, because a lot of those had just a great sort of grounded in some sort of a real family.
Sure. Monster Squad, Goonies kind of stuff.
Monster Squad, Goonies, and that type of stuff.
So what were we going to say?
I was just going to go back to the characters. Was anything created specifically for this film that was new to Spirit, like that Spirit's going to offer a costume or an animatronic?
I don't know if I want to say that yet. Like, I'll say there are 3 main characters that are Spirit Halloween characters that we've been revealing this week on social media. There's a separate one that I would say we created, to be honest, and then in the finale, not to give it away, there are a lot of characters that are going to show up from the Spirit Halloween world, stuff we created in the 3rd act, and maybe we just don't go as deep, frankly, into who and what they are. But it's a wide range of stuff. Like I said, I remember when we figured out our Spirit Halloween deal, they shipped over like literally truckloads of different material, props, and for us to use, because they were our partner then, it wasn't like a brand.
Yeah.
So they were like, here's what you can use, and now it almost felt like too much. I don't know, Andy, if you saw all, and the climax, you know what I'm talking about, were they?
Yeah, just boxes full of anything, you know, anything you can grab.
it's a good partnership. Look, they obviously are trying to push their store. I'm trying to push a movie. And we were trying to listen to fans as well about what would work well and what looked well on camera, because there for sure were some where I was like, well, that looks stupid.
Yeah.
And you see them in the movie, but they don't come alive because we had to make a choice of like what's going to look cool in sort of this environment of these kids running around.
Yeah, and as far as writing those characters into the script, Billie, like, did you find out after the fact that there's this other world of characters that you might not have been familiar with and creatures that you could incorporate into the script? Did you go back and kind of write them into it and kind of tweak what was already there, or did you already kind of have your experience at Spirit and pick things out that you wanted to bring alive?
Well, in very early drafts, I was using like some of the old school Spirit stuff. Like I think there was like Swamp Hag and all these ones, and people would tell me even when I started, doing well on the contest circuit, and I'd get in rooms with people. The first thing you have to do is get rid of all these like brand name, your owned animatronics. I'm like, well, I'll leave them in for now. I kind of like them.
Yeah.
But then when a particular crowd got a hold of it, that was one of the first things I would do. Make them generic. Don't reference anything that's to do with anything. But then when Spirit came on board, I was able to then write them back. But I was then told, like this, we had the basic idea, like this is how this looks on the page, what's similar, and then we'll put Nightcrawler in this spot. And so I did a rewrite saying like this character was replaced with Nightcrawler, this one was with Mr. Dark, I think these are all been, I'm not giving anything
You can say that, that's fine. We revealed it the other day.
Buzzsaw, yeah, some pretty cool stuff, and that's when I got fun. So I'm like, I can actually use these, so I can, had a bit of a pick, and it was fun, yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, should we roll the sizzle reel?
I think we made it.
All right, so we're gonna roll the sizzle reel. Well, we just kind of evokes like those great Amblin movies, like as you said, and movies like Night Books and House with a Clock on Its Walls and all those. It's a great alternative to be able to take the family to something like that as well, that everybody can enjoy, and gateway horror films that we all love so much. So this is extraordinary. It looks so cool. I wanted to ask about, I saw the Fright Night Easter egg on the marquee when the kids are walking out. Is there other Easter eggs like that to watch out for?
There are some films that we're referencing that you will see. That is one for sure. Look, there are lots of Easter eggs. If you play that in slow motion, you'll sort of see it. And you were there on set the whole time, so I'm sure you and David were doing that.
Yeah, there's some footage from some other films you might recognize in there.
Very cool. And then, Billie, I was wondering about just, not to harp on the creature characters and everything like that, but I'm wondering, to be able to have a hand in developing the lore of these characters that are kind of already in the Spirit Halloween world, like we saw Nightcrawler and Buzzsaw and Mr. Dark in that footage. Was there some sort of Bible that Spirit gave to you as far as traits of these characters to maintain, or did you kind of get free will to kind of create their lore all on your own?
Yeah, what's interesting, the defining factor is that it's one spirit taking over each.
Right.
And I think, in early drafts, it was simply, whatever the character was in the store. When I said I was using early references like Swamp Hag, I just kind of took on what they were. If, she was a southern hag, then she acted like that, and when she was speaking freely, she would speak like kind of in that tone, and I just carried on that voice. But then a particular crowd had me just take it down to almost, this generic version of them. And then when the new ones came in, and this is when Christopher was being spoken about coming in as the defining spirit, then it was each individual monster didn't need anything outside of their looks, I guess, and how they would move, given free movement. And because it was this one spirit with one goal to either, get a body to get back to life type thing. So it was just pretty one track in a different form.
Sure, no, I get it. And as we saw, this an extraordinary cast, a lot of fresh new faces that we might not recognize, and then there's Rachel Lee Cook and Christopher Lloyd, these icons. So talk about just the general casting process and finding these new actors and, bringing in these classic.
Look, this movie's about the kid, so when we were full steam ahead, I kind of went to Billie, or I don't know if I did this, but I was like, hey, we got to beef up some of these kid characters. I think you beefed up Kate a little bit.
We made her older.
Right.
She was a twin. Yeah.
Right. So we changed that because we wanted at least one of them to be a little older. But we did a nationwide search. I mean, I don't think there's, quote, a name kid actor, or I couldn't afford it if there is. But we did a big nationwide search and took our time, I think, and found what I kind of told the casting directors, like, I want you to find someone in 2 years that's going to really be, maybe not a huge star, but like, they're on a hit show, like they're on that journey. I said, right now, they're going to be no one I've ever heard of. And I had to really rely on my casting director, I think between, and I didn't want to be involved in this process. The director, David, I was like, you gotta watch every single, kid reel and get into that. He really dived into it. And because I was like, I don't know who's gonna be a good actor, it's not my department. Now when it came to Rachel and Christopher Lloyd, I for sure was involved in that part. And once again, we wanted people that, like, Christopher Lloyd is our villain, and spoiler alert, like, he dies in the first act. But his spirit, you see him the whole time. They're talking about him the whole time, and there are some great villains, I think, in motion picture history where maybe you don't see them a lot, but like, they're in it. Like, we spent days last month for Christopher Lloyd doing voiceover work because he's the voice of all the monsters. When he possesses them, like, that's him. So it's like, maybe we don't see him a lot, but like, he had to put a lot into that. Christopher Lloyd's an older guy, so like, it was a lot, because he would get into it. I mean, you saw him on set, like, he will come on set and he's a little older guy, but then he is like doing stuff, and it was great. We all, look, even between Marla Gibbs, who plays Grandma G in the film, like, it's a small role, but it is very important, and I think you only see glimpses of her, but like, I wanted people that had recognizable faces. Rachel Lee Cook, it was very random. A friend of mine, the director of the first one I produced like over 10 years ago, he was like, oh yeah, she had a small role in my film. She's great. And look, there's a lot of 90s nostalgia going on. And once again, it was just like, hey, would you come in, be the mom? We beefed up her role as well. So it was a combo of, like I said, with the kids, it was just, I had to listen to a lot of people. And with the older people, it was like, hey, like, particular crowd, once again, they were our great partners, where they were like, we love Christopher Lloyd, this is great, like, go get him. Or with Rachel Lee Cook, there were some other people, and they're like, no, we really like her. I don't know how they make these decisions, but they were like, this is gonna be great. So it really worked out well. But this is the kids' movie all the way. I think even Rachel, who was, an actor when she was much younger, her reps, and she said it to me in a nice way. She was like, hey, I don't want to see my face on this poster. This is about these 4 kids. Like, I want it to be about them. And it was good advice she gave me. I was like, you're right, actually. You're absolutely right.
And then take us to the actual filming location itself. I mean, Andy, you were on the on ground zero of everything. I guess first question is, was it actually filmed in an actual Spirit Halloween store?
It was in Rome, Georgia. It was an old Toys R Us that had been repurposed, and we scouted it actually on Halloween with the understanding of if you close down, can you leave all this stuff in here, and we're going to film for another 3 weeks, and that's what ended up happening. And Rome in general, I mean, the citizens were just so helpful and just showing us locations that Billie was able to write into the script, because they were just so generous with assets that they had. They weren't tired of filmmakers yet, so it was cool to them.
Billie, were you able to go to the set?
I wasn't. I'm sure I could have, but it was...
You could have.
I could have.
You could have.
I had 2 other deadlines with particular crowd, and also Christmas. They filmed over, the Christmas period, and we were hosting family, and it just didn't happen. But I did say to my husband, I'm like, next time, I'm just dropping everything. You've got to take this. I'm going to be on set.
And there was the COVID element where...
There was the COVID element.
Where we were trying to limit how many people would be on set. And you can talk about that, where I think we had a COVID outbreak. I think we had 1 or 2 COVID outbreaks.
We had a major one. Yeah.
Tell them that. Tell them. I remember now. Tell them the COVID.
Well, I mean, it was our director was gracious enough to not get COVID until the last 3 days of production. So he was out, unfortunately, and we were texting back and forth. And he's all right and everything, but fortunately he'd done so much planning and had storyboards for us that it was obvious, here's what we need to accomplish in his absence. But you know, throughout the whole shoot, we've been very lucky, and then just the last week, that happened, unfortunately.
So we were protecting you, Billie. That's why I didn't want you to come to set.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, also, was there any challenges or, I don't know, concerns about making sure the action and the story stayed compelling, kind of confined for the majority in this one location?
Yeah, I mean, you want to have enough variety. You don't want to repeat yourself, and I think we, I feel like we utilized every part of that store and differentiated each part with lighting, so it wasn't sort of you're not seeing, there's less repetition, there's more novelty in that regard, because yeah, you don't want to kind of run out of steam where you're like, oh, it's these 4 walls. So I think we opened it up quite a bit. We go on the roof, we go under the store, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did anything weird or spooky happen while filming?
Yeah, we got a COVID outbreak.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Are we kidding? We actually have more footage, right?
Yeah, you know, our director put together sort of he'd been keeping a video diary from development all the way into post that I thought would be fun to share. It's kind of a little bit more quick montage that can be fun to share with you guys as well. That's a couple minutes of behind the scenes stuff.
Sure, yeah, let's cue it up, let's check it out.
Rome Jars were great to us. They opened up the whole city. They didn't know who we were. That's our producer, or one of the other producers, Mike Haggerty.
We're in the mountains. Died on this property. Super
That's us doing our casting calls. Who are the kids you think? Those are, I think those are David's. Those are David's kids. I saw them. I was like, who are these kids?
This spooky guy.
What you got?
I think we got down there around October, roughly, probably even earlier, and we were just, like I said, bouncing around trying to find locations, hoping it wouldn't snow or not look like autumn.
All right, we can go live. Action! Word of the day, Bear.
My balls kicked one.
Is it beginning?
This.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Y2K problem.
I am a crazy person.
It got rough in the middle of the shooting. We were all stressed.
There's our sick director.
Yeah, he got COVID bad. It wasn't like no symptoms COVID.
There's the sound.
Maybe you are a decade ago.
Yeah, we were still doing additional photography and things for that, guys. Snap out. There you go.
They have to do much to the Spirit Halloween location or anything like that, or is it kind of just, take it as it came?
Yeah, well, we used one of our friends from Nashville, Ruby Gadara, and her team. They decked out the entire store and kind of, we came up with the schematics saying, like, this needs to be a set piece, this needs to be able to fall down, so on and so forth. And it really dialed the store into taste in that regard.
Billie, I'm really curious, was there a scene that you wrote that just became unfilmable because maybe complexity or budgetary reasons?
Well, that historical Halloween village was impossible for a bigger budget film for sure. That was something I was not really get attached to too much because but I do love the way that we're able to capture the essence of what I intended for the scene and what it was supposed to do, and make it smaller without losing. I think that became the cinema in the old school, Rome, Georgia cinema. But just that vibe of the kids mentally preparing and what they had to do while they're, like deciding they were going to do something else cool for Halloween. I don't know, we were able to capture some of that, but that would have been awesome. I mean, that was my first experience in America at the Midwest, was this, not just Halloween, but these amazing historical villages just turned into horror towns. I mean, I guess you get that here in LA, but in the Midwest it was just super cool, so that was one.
And then what about, I've been seeing all these amazing kind of promotional artwork and things like that. I know you guys had Mark Spears doing these creature cards that have come out, and the logos and posters look cool, and they kind of have that almost like an 80s nostalgia look. So what was the design behind that and getting more involved?
It's been a lot of, and they didn't push me hard on it, but even the particular crowd of people, but everyone has been like, there's some great opportunities when it comes to teaser posters, character posters, doing the reveal for the monster characters. Like, that was some great artwork that, frankly, I wasn't planning on doing, and then someone, frankly, got turned into me very early, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then we really started pushing it. Like, I'll say in back, there are some posters we printed up that are limited edition. We only printed 500, 250 for this event, 250 for the other one. I'd grab those because we're gonna have a ton of promotional artwork, character posters, and it is, once again, trying to embrace sort of, like I said, the sort of 80s and maybe even some 90s nostalgia elements. And the other part for me is running sort of Strike Back Studios is, I always sort of feel like we're an independent film, we're a big independent film. I'm like, hey, it's not just about a poster and a trailer. Like, I want to have 20 different things that we can sort of share. I think in sort of this media market world, there are lots of different opportunities. You saw a glimpse of it on that reel we just saw, of one that we did with Christopher Lloyd's image up top.
I saw that in the back.
That one, we were just like, oh, that'll be a nice digital image. And we got an offer from a company. They were like, hey, we want you to print up 5,000 of these. We're gonna go sell these. And I was like, really? Because I was just planning on releasing it. So it's been really cool, I think, between the Spirit Halloween store people and people getting excited that we're gonna feed this monster. There's gonna be so much material out there. Like I said, we printed up the posters in back just to kind of give away, just to be like, hey, this is our first of many sort of things. And I'm a fan of less is more. And one thing, once again, and it kind of goes to what Rachel kind of told me, I think a lot of movie posters are boring, where it's just like the image of the actor's face. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's sort of like the Moneyball poster that just has Brad Pitt's face on it. I'm like, okay, like who cares? So we're trying to do some cool things like that to mix it up, and it'll be a big rollout. Like, we've got a teaser trailer that's separate from what you guys saw coming out tomorrow or Tuesday, but the world's gonna see it's 90 seconds of footage. But then there's a full trailer I've been working on. There's some TV spots. We're gonna start releasing some clips. So you're gonna see a lot of different promotional marketing material. And people come up to me and they're like, you should release this as an NFT. And I'm like, what's an NFT? I know what an NFT is, but we'll do some stuff like that as well.
Oh, that is so fun. And what about having, Spirit as a partner? What's their involvement kind of going to be in the push? Are we going to see
It's a
stuff
big
in their stores?
push. They have been more and more excited. Like I said, they had their big event yesterday. They like pushing their characters. Like I said, it's been for them Buzzsaw, Mr. Dark, and Nightcrawler. There's another one actually that we kind of created that isn't one of theirs, but look, they've got a huge. I have been thoroughly impressed with the Spirit Halloween folks that they have an audience and a core group of fans that were, I think 2 weeks ago they sent me this footage at their headquarters where their main store is, where people were camped out in tents for the grand opening. And I was like, oh, so like one person's gonna show up, and then they showed me a couple days ago, and it was like huge. So I have been educated that there are huge Spirit Halloween store fans, and what we've really embraced this, and what they've said to me is, hey, look, our fans are horror people, they want the blood and guts, but it's mostly family and kids. And we are trying to be that alternative sort of film where, look, I'm not saying we're not scary, but I think there's just as many people that are gonna be interested in seeing a film like this, and Goosebumps is a good example of what we say, we're tone-wise. Look, we come out the same week as Halloween Kills, and I'm very comfortable with that, because there's room for both. There's absolutely room for both.
Yeah, definitely.
Billie, have you thought of where the story continues? Like if you were to do a second film?
Yeah.
You've got ideas?
But, you know, I think the thing is, because I don't think you just do it for the sake of if it did well, for example, just because people want it. There has to be something to tell. And I have some ideas that would, you know, still incorporate Spirit Halloween, but not necessarily be another one in a store, and just change it up enough. Yeah, I've got some ideas.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
What about just being able to sit back and watch this script come to life as a feature film? That must be incredible for you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, I've been at this for over a decade, and a writer just writes in their writer's cave, and it rarely, you know, you've got the contest circuit to get a bit of validation, but really it's like, it always feels like, I think I read somewhere, I think you've got a higher chance of winning the lotto.
Right.
And having a script actually not just get picked up or optioned, but made, like seen all the way to the end. So much has to happen. So it's just incredible, and it's so cool, and it's so cool that my kids are at an age where this is like perfect for them. They were a bit too young 5 years ago, I think, but now like they're right at that age. They're the perfect test audience. It's just awesome.
It's so exciting.
One of the funniest memes that I've ever seen a couple years ago when Disneyland shut down and the Spirit Halloween banner came over. There you
Many
go.
memes like that.
There's your location right there. Sequel.
Look, there are over 1,400 Spirit Halloween locations, and that's gigantic. That is far bigger than I ever thought they were, and they're doing well as a company. Look, Spirit Halloween, if you guys didn't know, it actually is owned by, if you remember the company Spencer Gifts? Yeah, that's Spirit Halloween. That's who they are, actually. I mean, everyone went to Spencer Gifts in the mall back in the day, or maybe I'm showing my age because malls don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I read some facts about Spirit Halloween, and it said that people shop really late, and 70% of their sales are done 2 weeks before Halloween.
Yeah. And they've been opening up earlier and earlier, but they have a good business model, and they know what they're doing. And look, some people make fun of them, and we've had some jokes about us on, like, I remember when we had our first press release, like Jimmy Kimmel spent 2 minutes sort of talking about the movie in jest, or Stephen Colbert, or a bunch of other shows where they're like, oh, but it's generated a lot of interest, and like I said, I think it's more people are fans of them, and Halloween, I don't remember when adults took over Halloween, but it happened, and now it is this thing not just for kids, and Spirit Halloween the store, I think, is a big part of that.
Yeah, and so just to kind of summarize, what are are there any key dates that everyone should be watching out for? I mean, you had said the film's target release is going to be October 11th, correct?
Yeah, so the general release plans are, we are targeting a few different film festivals that I will not mention here, that would be in late September, early February, that we're talking about screening at. We've shown the film to do some limited engagements with AMC and Regal theaters. And then we actually, where we got a lot of interest, which I was surprised by, drive-ins in September and October.
Yeah, that'd be fun, yeah.
Totally, they thought this would play well with a lot of films that we're paying homage to. I remember my theatrical sales guy brought it up, and I was like, really? He's like, oh yeah, like, and I was educated against, like, not that drive-ins are like all the way back, but like in a way, like, they're a fun family event. It's not sort of the drive-ins of the 70s and 80s. And then, yeah, our big commercial release in the US and Canada is October 11th. That's when it's going to be available to rent or buy on Amazon, Apple, Vudu Fandango, Google Play, YouTube, Redbox TV, any place that you have video on demand, even cable video on demand, obviously, whoever has cable still and didn't cut the cord, DirecTV and demand, all those places, October 11th is going to be available. Simultaneously, it's actually going to start streaming internationally, because there's a big international play for this film. This is a deal I did months ago where in Mexico, Central America, and South America, HBO Max picked it up, and it's going to start streaming October 22nd.
Oh, that's so
And then in Europe and Asia, there are some territories that have bought it, though Halloween is not a big of a deal, and so they might change the title in some of those territories, but it's a big rollout, and it's a big feat, and I think it has to do a lot with Andy in particular, and the production crew, being able to get this done, because if I read the script in June and we're releasing, by October 11th, like, that's unheard of in Hollywood terms.
Definitely. And Billie, I mean, you are one to watch. This is an incredible feat. And I'm just curious, what's kind of on deck for you? What are you involved with moving forward? And how can people kind of follow along in your journey?
Well, Particular Crowd that kind of nurtured me. This was my first script to be ever optioned, and we worked really well together. I worked well with the development team, so I've been doing writer for hire stuff for them. I think I have a little Christmas movie, but we have some bigger stuff, with the success of this, or just the ease of it and how it's worked out. We're trying to do something a bit more in this space and budget. Another similar genre, but in a witchy kind of world. I won't say Hocus Pocus, because I know they're doing a number 2 now, but it's a fun and unique angle. I can't say too much. That would hopefully do a similar thing, film the end of the year and come out next October. And then a spy comedy, weirdly enough, that's more of an adult film. But I'm doing some fun stuff with them, but I just got a manager, and they're kind of lining me up to see, where things go from here.
Oh, we can't wait. Very cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much, and thanks to Billie, Noor, and Andy. Spirit Halloween the movie, October 11th. We're so stoked for it. Thank you guys.